Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater.
So Godzilla and Kong are set to team up to fight a big red ape and destroy cities in the process, and I couldn't be more excited for it. The MonsterVerse has always been an interesting shared universe to me. Not because the main thing holding them all together is the fact that they all involve giant monsters fighting, and that shady organization Monarch is somewhere in the story. No, what's more interesting to me is the fact that they managed to stay relevant and keep fan interest after a literal decade. I honestly thought Godzilla vs. Kong was going to be the last entry, but since then we've gotten a TV series and this new movie coming out, so I was obviously wrong in assuming that they were going to stop there. But again, the fan interest is still here and doesn't seem to be disappearing at all. So I want to talk briefly about how they managed to do this. You know, why fans seem to be engaged in this universe when others seem to be either losing steam or just flat out died. So what's the MonsterVerse doing right that allows it to thrive for this long? Let's get into it and discuss it a bit.
Interior.
But before I get into the main reasons, I do want to acknowledge that the concept of giant monsters fighting each other will always pique a lot of people's interest. So that kind of goes without saying, you know? But besides that, it really comes down to two main factors. To me anyway. It's quality and frequency. Let's talk about quality first. These movies are pretty well made for the most part. Sure, the writing leaves a bit to be desired, but from a production standpoint, these movies are really a spectacle to behold. And I'm not just blowing hot air. Many people just straight up like these movies. If you take a look at the scores, they're all received relatively pretty well. Surprisingly, even with most of the critics. But mainly with the audiences. You know, the ones actually paying to see these movies. Also, a bit of a side note here, but you want to see a trick about Rotten Tomatoes? So these numbers right here aren't actually out of 100. You see, this is the percentage of people who scored it at least a 60 or higher. So by doing this and just clicking here, you can actually see the average rating. Now, why do they do it like this? Probably because it's easy to manipulate. So this score can go up and down depending on the rating, really. I just want to throw this in here because I don't think many people actually know about this, and I don't know any other time where I'll be able to mention this, so here you go. But anyway, these MonsterVerse movies still seem to score relatively well, and not only well received in reviews, but in the box office numbers too. They all do pretty well. Even Godzilla vs. Kong did well, and that was available to stream on HBO Max the same day it was released in theaters. So that's really saying something. I do know some people will say that quality is mostly subjective because it depends on what you're looking for. But to me, for fun action, big monsters, and spectacle, these movies definitely hit the mark. Though I do know several fans don't like that this universe has gotten a bit more silly over the years, and isn't as serious as the first few entries, with each new film moving further away from the darker tone that was set in Godzilla 2014. I understand this feeling, but to me personally, I don't mind it, because I think it balances it all decently well, between the action, the drama, the human characters, and the big monster fights. Yeah, it's not as dark, but I think it makes up for it with the sheer amount of fun that these films have, as well as balancing all the other things I just listed. Sure, it's not going to please everyone, but broadly speaking, judging from the numbers and the reviews and the word of mouth, these movies are generally well received, and a lot of people believe that they're well made, so you're getting a pretty good quality product here. Now the next big thing, which is probably more important, is frequency. Since 2014, there's only been 6 projects in total for the MonsterVerse, 4 released movies, 1 TV show, and this new movie coming out. If you look at the release dates, they all vary from 2 to 3 years apart, leaving a little time in between to breathe. So to put it simply, they didn't oversaturate the market with these movies. So when they come around, it feels almost like an event, especially these past 2, with Kong and Godzilla sharing the screen. If we got 1 or more projects related to this MonsterVerse every year, then it probably wouldn't feel as special. It might sound like I'm being dramatic, but I mean, it's kind of true. Just take a look at the current state of comic book movies and shows, for example. Since they started ramping up the output, the fan interest has slowly started to drop, as well as the quality. I believe by having fewer projects, it ensures they don't oversaturate the market, but more importantly, it makes sure the quality of them stays up to par. I mean, these movies are expensive to make. These giant CGI monsters and special effects aren't cheap, so I think it's pretty smart they didn't try to stretch their budget and resources too thin. It's actually kind of funny. A lot of comic book movies and most MCU movies are actually pretty expensive but look terrible. It's probably because they're stretching the resources too thin. I'm pretty sure there's more things I could mention, but to me, it's really just those 2 main things. And they pair together pretty nicely, because by releasing less projects, they ensure that they don't oversaturate the market, as well as not stretch their budget and resources too thin, which in turn keeps the quality pretty high. Therefore, fans stay pretty interested. So basically, they don't drop these movies too often, and when they do, they're pretty good. I guess that's the short version. But yeah, that's gonna do for the video. Very short and sweet, to the point. If there's anything you would like to add, go and leave a comment down below. Definitely looking forward to the new movie. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
I can't stand Spider-Man! I can't stand him! I hate him!